Bula Vinaka, everybody. This is Dave here at Vinaka Urban Farm, and it's been something like a month since I made a farm tour video, and ants are interested in the farm tour video. And since it's been a while, and this time of year, a month means a lot. It's the end of July. It's about July 25th. I thought I'd make another farm tour video and let everybody see what's going on. So without further ado, let's get on into it. We're starting off in the greenhouse, as always, and to my left, your right, maybe, is the basil wall. This is an experiment this year. It's working okay. I think the basil actually needs a bigger base than this, to give you a point of reference here, because the basil outside's way bigger than the basil here, but overall, it's grown. And we've gotten plenty of basil for ourselves off of it, although not a ton to sell. Other than that, in the greenhouse, there's not that much going on. A few seedlings here and there. This is my next batch of lettuce to go outside, and here's some brassicas, fall brassicas for us. Yes, you can plant in the summer for the fall. You don't just have to plant everything at once in the spring. Here we have some amaranth microgreens and another batch of lettuce. And here's the next amaranth microgreens sprouting in here. I'll take that lid off for good later. In fact, I'll just do that now. They look plenty tall. Alright, so let's go through and see the farm. In the near, oh, you can see the sprinkler system is going on. A janky little low-tech sprinkler system is on automatic timers. I'm gonna upgrade that irrigation sometime, maybe this year, maybe next year, but it's worked for this year so far. Here's our raised beds. We've got some recently transplanted beets, also for the fall, mingling with the tall kale we've harvested from a ton. The sorrel's looking beautiful in here too. This guy's the sorrel right here. So the kale and sorrel have been here since the spring, and we've been harvesting from those regularly. It's real easy. Those are easy to grow and just keep. If the kale, if you get it big by the time the hot weather hits, I find that it rides through the summer just fine, doesn't mind the heat. These little guys right here are parsnips, which we're also trying to get to work out. We're hoping we can get a parsnip harvest by the winter, but we'll see. It's all an experiment here. I was hoping some of this shiso would be sprouted already, but looks like we've still got another day or two to wait for the shiso. So those are our raised beds. This monstrosity of a raised bed is our strawberry raised bed. We've got lots of strawberries out of that this summer, and it's trying to climb, in fact successfully, I noticed the other day, climbing into the tomato bed. See those little tendrils? Those are strawberry plants trying to colonize the rest of the yard, even though this thing's a foot off the ground. Right? The tendrils clamber all over and trying to take over the yard. We won't let them, because I want to grow other things, even though I love strawberries. Next to the strawberries, you can see all of our lovely little cherry tomatoes. And it's kind of a shame that we had to shoot it right now, this video. I didn't have to, but it's kind of a shame that the video doesn't really represent these tomatoes, because I just harvested this morning. So if you can imagine, this is an orange variety of tomato called Sun Gold, which the regulars are absolutely devouring. You know who you are. They're my favorite tomato to grow so far. They're the earliest tomatoes. They are prolific. You can see all these tomatoes up and down the tomato vines, and they taste the best. So kind of an impossible plant, really. I'm sure I'm paying some kind of invisible cost to some unknown god for those tomatoes. But we'll worry about that later. I want to show you that these tomato plants, actually I'm kind of jury-rigging a system called lowering and leaning these tomatoes. So you can see that I've trellised these tomatoes to these vertical wooden stakes, and I have a video about that elsewhere on my channel here, just with this little Velcro tape. But you know, the tomatoes, they're really tall, and you can see that they're almost to the top of the stakes, and like I said, it's just the end of July. We've got at least a month and a half of tomato growth left, and they're gonna outstrip these stakes. And so what I've done is I've actually undid the Velcro on each of these tomato plants, and I lowered them so that the stem is actually bending here at the bottom. And that just gives me a little bit more room so that they don't outstrip those stakes. And I'll have to do that. It's a really tedious process. When I grow them next year, I'll do them very differently. But it has worked for this year, and it's really nice to be able to see all the tomatoes really easily and to harvest them really easily in this way. And I guess the other thing that's worth noting is that I hard prune off the tomatoes up to the bottom fruiting branch. So you can see these little nodes here, like here and here, right there. That's where I've pruned off all of the leafing and fruiting branches up until this first fruiting branch right here. And once that fruit has all ripened up and been harvested, I'll do the same for that. Worth noting too is that underneath these tomatoes I'm growing some beet greens and some chard further down. It works great. I'm really happy with the way that has worked. Elsewhere I've done lettuce in the same way. Over here we've got some Hakurei turnips that are just coming ripe. You can see them starting to peek out from the ground. I harvested some yesterday morning, but I think the rest I'll wait until next week and they'll be a real nice size. I'm trying out some beets called baby beets. They're kind of a small size beet, as their name would imply. They're not ready this week, but I'm expecting that next week at least some of them will be ready. See if I can find a good example. These guys aren't peeking out quite as aggressively as the turnips are. Oh, here we go. Here's one. I hope that next week lots of them look like this. Just a little tiny beet. Moving right on to the odd shaped bed, we've got some more Hakurei turnips. I had some irregular germination here, so I just stuck some lettuce in the bare spots. And that lettuce looks like it's about a week out. I'm gonna try and see if it retains some good flavor throughout the summer. This part of the bed is actually right here. This line right here is where the lettuce and turnips stop and the radish begins. So I've got some radishes. Interestingly enough, the radish over here on this left side is is noticeably smaller than the radish on the right side. I'm not really sure why, but maybe with some few years of experience on this little plot, I'll be able to figure that out. To my left is the hugelkultur as the sun comes and blinds me as I stare to the west here in this afternoon. You can see I always have to stop and look at the okra because it's just one of my favorite plants. We're growing this red version of okra. It's a gorgeous plant, and the okra tastes just like okra. I think I like Clemson Spineless, the standard green okra's flavor, just a little bit better. But it's been worth trying that plant out, and it's certainly a gorgeous plant in the yard. I've harvested plenty of tomatoes. That's what these bare spots are. And since it's only July, I'm going to try and plant a new rotation of carrots in that spot in the future. See if we can get them to be mature and maybe hang around there for the fall and into the winter. This is a beet bed. I've harvested these bull's blood beet greens quite a few times, and now I'm just letting them grow into proper beets, which you can see peeking there. The beets are growing in the base, so it's kind of cool. I'm going to see if I can get both beet greens and beets from the same plants. Right next to them is a different kind of beet green that I'm not even going to try to get the root from, because that kind of beet doesn't really grow an appreciable root. Over here are some Juliet tomatoes. Those kind of like Romas. And over here is a little bit of Juliets, but further down are some orange grape tomatoes called Novas. Little bed of lettuce. This is the next rotation of lettuce. I really learned this year, through a series, many mistakes, that how to kind of rotate your lettuce and when to plant things. And I will also learn which lettuces retain their flavor through the summer heat. So that's pretty much the backyard, since we're at about the 10-minute mark, and that's when things got to end on my free version of the YouTube account. Anyway, I'll just cut it off there, and then we'll head out to the front yard and recommence.